And it's
Let's go with the
11:11
flow.
over here, so make a wish, everyone.
Mm.
Hi, Satya. How
Hi,
are you,
babe.
Mama?
Good. Let's see. There we go. I'm good. I'm good. I think you're right. Like, let's just first like take a second and just honor the fact that mamas, whoever's listening, whoever maybe is in the United States or not in the United States, it's been like a rough 24 hours. And
Whew.
sad
Yeah.
and also democracy is always going to prevail, hopefully, in our country. And as Rachel, who's on mine and Emily's team, mentioned today to me, like, if you're tired, you
Yeah.
should be. It's
Yeah.
exhausting
Yeah.
and scary.
Yeah. It really does. When things like this happen, it can really throw you off. Like I woke up this morning with vertigo.
Really?
It's completely off balance, just off center. And it's still with me a little bit. I need to be careful with how quickly I turn my head and stuff. And it makes sense. And that has happened a few times in 2020.
Yeah.
And it usually happens when it feels like the state of the world or the country or even just the city is just off center.
Yeah.
When it's, it gets shaky. It definitely gets shaky at times. And I think it's really important that we just honor how we feel and that we take a moment to kind of find our center again and find whatever balance we can find. We need to get really good when the world is the way that it is right now to create that kind of container so that darts will always be coming at us. But is there a way to create some sort of container so that they bounce off, right? So that we don't have to go around and feel everything. And I think, especially as mothers, we're sensitive beings because we need to be.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah.
And I think that's also, it's actually an excellent segue into like what we were scheduled to talk about today, which is, right, like these containers being present are really, really important. And a lot of our mamas on We Are Amma, our community, mentioned, a lot of being present and being in the moment and not being distracted and finding time for their partners. And I feel like when things like yesterday, storming the Capitol, when things like this happen, it's such a good reminder of like, is our body okay? Like, am I okay physically? Is the space that I'm in this current situation hurtful or dangerous? Am I safe? And yesterday I had to do a lot of those moments where I was getting sucked into my phone, and especially in the later of the afternoon where I was like, oh my God, they just did this. Oh my God. And I'm spreading the news and I'm spreading the scare, and just coming back to like, my body currently is safe. I don't need my body to experience more trauma, drama, fear in this current moment. And so, having said all that, Emily and I today are going to be talking about setting goals, intention with magic for 2021. And so Emily and I are co-founders of Amma, and she is just divine and magical. And so when we were thinking about Thank you. When we were thinking about something that we wanted to share with, busy mamas, human beings, today being, the first week of January, we really wanted to talk about goal setting, intentions, manifestations, desire, and things like that. And how we do it, how we try to do it, how we succeed at it, and how we fail at it also. And so I think we'll just get started, right, Em? Like, let's just dive into it.
This is going to be you, Satya. I know you are really, really good at this. This is definitely not one of my strengths. I keep saying that, but it is, that's actually part of my goals, I guess, for this year, is to set goals that make sense for me and just get better at getting clear about what it is that I need exactly so that I can just support myself throughout the year.
Totally. And I think that that's really normal for all of us. And again, like, we're specifically talking about mamas, but all of this stuff can get applied to anybody's life. And I think, Emily, that's such a good point. And I will, from what I've experienced and learned over the last, let's call it 10 years as an entrepreneur and needing to plan, right, for our Amma business, for my hat business, for my home life, you know, there's things that I've learned and I've really dedicated myself to understanding, like, how do we see success? And success can be different, right? Sometimes we don't hit our goals. Sometimes they're better. Sometimes they're not close to what we imagine. And that's, I think, where we're going to kind of focus today is what are the things that keep us from our goals? And so we're just going to get started. I wrote a bunch of notes. And so first, and everybody can watch this later, but I just want you to sit with your body and to feel, what would it feel like if in January, I think it's the 7th of 2022, like, what would it feel like if you hit all of your goals? Like, what would you like your life to look like? Like, dream big, feel into it. What are those desires what are those little voices in your head that are saying, God, it'd be so great to have, to see, to hold, to love, to whatever. And just spend 5 minutes kind of thinking about those things. You don't have to do it now. You can do it at another time.
Even stepping into it for a second was like,
no, I love that. Right? And that's really important. And that's kind of the work that I really love focusing on is people call it the manifestation stuff, but it's really, really dreaming big, because our minds are really good at saying, oh, I would love to, I don't know, be next year in London or Paris in a cafe or whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, COVID and da-da-da-da, and how are you going to do that? And blah, 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 blah. You know, and all these things limit our, let's call it genius desires. And sometimes when you allow yourself the opportunity just to feel into big desires, big wants, big feelings, big experiences without limiting them, you come up with things that you didn't even know you wanted. And that, I think, is the most magical stuff. Sometimes you're like, I want a baby. Oh my God, I didn't think I wanted to have another baby, or I didn't know I wanted to have a partner, or whatever it is for you, you know? And Emily and I are just going to talk from our own personal experiences and what our own desires are. But that's the magic. Giving yourself 5 minutes. Once every 3 months, I don't know, whenever. It doesn't have to be the beginning of the year. I love the beginning of the year. I love the end of the year. I love the middle of the year. I love every month of the year. But just kind of making that time, right? Like, to just be intentional. If you say you can't find the time, I promise you, you find time to pee, you find time to eat, you find time to do all these crazy things that, like, if you make it a priority, it will happen. So if you want your desires, your intentions, your manifestations to happen, there's not only magic, but there is also this planning part of it.
Right. And sorry, we're moving, so I'm just sitting here holding my phone because I don't have the stand, and I'm in my bedroom. But I wanted to say, because somebody said something really important that I just wanted to speak about for 1 minute. She said, what if you're depressed and this is really hard to do? Because I've been there, and not even that long ago. I think it was maybe 2 Christmases ago or whatever, that I had to get really honest with myself and realize that I had been depressed. And that became a goal. Does not have to be this mountain of all these awesome things that you're going to do, and you're going to be such a better person at the end of this year. Don't make this another burden to carry on your shoulders. That's not what goal making has to be. It made me hate goal setting for a while. I hated vision boards. I'm still not a fan of them. But there's something to what Satya is saying, is to, for yourself, in a moment of full honesty, what is it that matters to you? And maybe this year is to get through that depression, to allow yourself to feel the things that need to be felt, to create time so that you can just sit with yourself, and maybe to call a therapist or find a therapist or line up some things of healing for you, whatever it is that you need. And that could be it. Yeah. Or making it easier for yourself to get out of the bed every day, whatever that is to you.
Yeah, and actually I think that's such a great point. And anybody who's in, let's call it that space where they feel like just even getting out of bed is challenging, or even dreaming big is challenging, this still applies to you, but just use the filter. And we'll go back, because I think that's such an important point. But taking that 5 minutes to just go inside can maybe also help identify. I find that sometimes when I have found for myself, I should say, when I have been in states of depression or feeling very blue, it's always because, for me, again, I've had some desire, or I've had something that wasn't in alignment with where I was. And so there was, let's call it maybe a little bit of a gap, right? Where I thought, well, I'm just depressed because my hormones are all out of whack and this is happening. And then when I sit with that, these thoughts in our head tell us what is going on.
Yeah.
It tells us like, he didn't freaking take the garbage out today. I'm so freaking pissed about that. And my mom didn't call me. And then that's the, in meditation, that's what we call monkey mind, right? All these things. And we don't say no. We don't say that that's not true. We don't put those down. We just listen to them. And it's just feedback, right? And so I'm not a doctor. You should always seek help. And from my experience, I have found that it's always when I'm out of alignment, when I'm not living my truest desires, when I'm not in a state that, and I reevaluate all the time. Does this make me feel good? Does it not make me feel good? Do I like this? Do I not like this?
So important.
Sometimes you need to just take those 5 minutes, and if you need to take 60 minutes if you think you can't take those 5 minutes, right? That's the power of meditation and mindfulness. And so, Emily, I'm going to put you on also the comments because I have a challenging time reading while I'm talking.
Yes.
So if anything comes up like that, because that is such a good point.
We have the little question box, right?
Yes, please utilize. Emily and I are like, we don't even know how to use any of these functions.
You know what? I tried to open this morning and I had to go run and find Justin. I was like, how do I go live? Because things have changed and then I had to update. So I actually don't see, no, I do see a question box. Great. So I will check that.
And I'm fine if you want to leave the comments. I don't mind them on my face. That doesn't bother me. But if people want to ask specific questions about specific things, we're happy to go deep on those things.
Got it. You were distracted by the comments. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I get distracted, but I don't read them. I just kind of keep talking. So first, just again, spend the time thinking about what you desire. If you're feeling that you don't desire anything. And desire can also be noticing that you're just not in the place you want to be. Like maybe next year looks like getting out of bed just feels easier and like my health, right? Like last year I started off with my health being really, really bad. I got a virus, not like, what's it called? Not COVID. But I had parvovirus and it kicked my ass. And so there was about 2 months there where getting out of bed was physically hard. And so my goal was by the end of the year just to feel better. And I do. And so that's, again, part of my goal for this year. How do I continue to improve my health? Mental, physical, like if you don't have health, and this is a good actually exercise that I did when I was in that state, which was what's most important to you, right? I probably put like all these other things like family, financial success, health, right? Like as like number 3 or 4. And then when I was in bad health and my eyes would hurt from just looking in the sky and I couldn't get out of bed without really motivating myself, I realized that health needed to be number 1. And so that reorganized what I thought was important and what I needed to do each day. So yeah. And again, take those 5 minutes, feel into those desires, big, small, whatever they feel like to you, they are important. They are information. Write those down. Pick 5 of your favorite ones or things that you want to work on. If depression is the one you want to work on, the next step would be taking action. And there's magic to this, and we'll talk about that magic stuff. But what I like to do is, so let's just use the depression one because that's a really good one, and it's also really challenging.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'll talk about like health, depression as its own category, right? So let's say that one of my biggest 5, only pick 5. If you accomplish the 5 by June, you can add 5 more. Just choose 5. Choose 5 ones. So let's say I was feeling depressed. I didn't know how I was going to get out of this. Maybe, I don't know if you guys can hear my dog. Apologies. If you feel the depression, maybe the first thing, so the first action might be thinking about what are things in your internal and external environment that you need to like maybe change or solve for, right? Or maybe it's number 1 in the action steps. And your action steps, so, depression, mental health, right, might be a category of a goal. And then just write down everything that comes to you and ask yourself the question of, if I spent the next 12 months getting into perfect health, getting into perfect mental health, what would that look like? So you're creating a map. Today I feel like this. By the end of the year, this is what a non-depressed, happy, or excited, or just even mediocre feeling person would look like, me, right? And then let's connect the dots. Okay, I might need to see a therapist once a week. I might need help. I might need to find ways to pay for, I'm going to use my life, a baby